What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cruise News Show. I'm your host, Tony, here with a cruise news update, and let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about the SeaDream One. SeaDream One, a super yacht. And of course, the big story is their attempt last week to create a safety bubble to keep the virus off that super yacht down there in the Caribbean. Well, it failed. It popped. Now, they didn't have the most robust safety bubble. They relied heavily on testing, and testing let them down. It's an interesting story. So they cruised all summer in Europe. They did a long 17-day transatlantic crossing from the UK to Barbados, and everything was going well until they took on passengers that came in from the US, flew into Barbados. Now, before they flew to Barbados, they had to have a COVID test that showed they were negative, which they did. And then once they got to Barbados, they had to take another COVID test, and they showed up negative on that. But a few days after the cruise started, one passenger feeling ill was tested and was found to have COVID-19. The SeaDream One immediately stopped their cruise. They made their way back to Barbados. And at the end of the day, after all was said and done, 7 passengers, 1 crew member testing positive for the virus. So that left 46 passengers in port there in Barbados, isolated on the SeaDream One, with the question in their mind, what would happen next? Well, what happens next is almost unbelievable. The passengers on board, they continue to get tested, and after they go through a series of tests and they come back negative for all of them, there's a decision that's made between SeaDream and the government there in Barbados that these people can go home, and that they can go home on commercial airlines. Wait, what? People that were around people that had the virus just a couple days ago, they were able to get on a commercial airline and fly home? Is that right? That's right. Passengers that were in proximity to the virus, potentially exposed to the virus, able to go to the airport, board a commercial flight, and fly home. Sounds familiar, right? This is one of the alarms that was raised early in the pandemic when we saw several instances of this, and I don't know who thinks this is a great idea. It's bizarre to me because people are saying, well, they were tested before they got on the commercial flight, but this is a case about where testing did not catch the virus until later. How can you use testing as the thing that you let people go be with other people when the testing is what's in question in the first place? Well, fortunately, the airlines weren't jam-packed, and they have super rigorous health protocols. Oh wait, it's the opposite of that. Here's a picture from the Twitter feed of Ben and David, a couple good content creators that were on the SeaDream One, and this is what it looked like when they were boarding their British Airways plane to go home. Ben and David testing negative for the virus. However, they were in close proximity to the virus, and they had interaction with the one crew member who tested positive for the virus, and they got to board a plane going back home. Now, this is what they were made to do. They didn't have much choice in it. I find no fault in Ben and David. I'm not saying that. Some decision was made by the government in Barbados and either gone along with or SeaDream. I don't know what happened, but this is a disaster. They said that there was really no social distancing when it came to the flying aspect of their travels. People were wearing the mask around their chin on the airline, hacking, sneezing, coughing, and they got to fly home. All these passengers got to fly home, and they're recommending that they self-isolate, but what's the point of self-isolation after you stick all these passengers on an airplane with hundreds of other people? Oh my gosh. This is the craziest thing ever. And the thing that's really troubling about this is people get this confused as to what the cruise lines are proposing for a restart of cruising in the U.S. They get it confused with what the CDC is proposing. This is nowhere close to what is being proposed by the CDC and the cruise lines here in the United States. The framework for conditional sailing that was published by the CDC has sections that address this very scenario. What do you do if you have people on a cruise ship where other people have been infected? What do you do? Well, the cruise lines have to have a plan in place where they've already worked with local governmental authorities, where they've worked with local medical facilities, where they've worked with local housing facilities. They can't cannot sail unless all of those things are in place. That's part of the new CDC regulation. And hey, can I get everybody's attention for a second? Yeah, if you're doing something else, I don't want you to miss this point. I know some people know this, but by the comments, I know a lot of people don't know this. The SeaDream One was not operating under the CDC protocols that will be required for cruising to resume in the United States. This is not that. So if you want to draw the comparison between what's happening on the SeaDream One to the restart of cruising in the US, it is a mismatched comparison. It's not apples to apples. It's not even apples to eggs. That's how far apart what they did on SeaDream One and the recommendation of the CDC for cruising to resume. And look, we already got a couple Congress people just based on the outbreak aspect of this story saying you should reinstate the no-sail order, CDC, when in reality the CDC has a very robust system in place for the restart of cruising that makes it very hard for cruises to restart, but it does make sure there are procedures in place for what to do with passengers on cruise ships that come down with the virus. And the plan is not throw them in with a bunch of people on a commercial aircraft and fly them back to their home communities. I have seen some articles today talking about how the government there in Barbados very keen as to what their number is, whether or not these cases will count against their number. COVID is not a competition. My goodness, I get so sick of turning on the TV and like, well, our numbers are better than theirs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not a game. It seems that means I'm just making an opinion out loud that this government was more interested in getting people off their island to keep their COVID count low instead of actually dealing with the things they should have dealt with. What do you think? This is a mess, man. This seems like more of the same. This will absolutely destroy cruising if the big cruise companies try to do something like this. Fortunately, I don't think that they will try to do something like this because the CDC's got the guidelines in place, and even the cruise lines wouldn't be as naive to take this approach. You got to have a contingency plan for when things go wrong, and just putting people on an airplane and sending them home, that's not it. That is not it. A crazy news story. I didn't think I would have to report on another we just sent people home news story, but here you go. I don't know where the breakdown is. It's frustrating. It's crazy. Leave a comment below. Let's continue the conversation. The word of the day is observe. If you're so creatively inclined, try to use observe in your comment. Now, I did do a show talking about the renewed call to reinstate the no-sail order and why I thought that was a bad idea. Check that video out here if you haven't seen it. Thanks so much for stopping by. Please show your support by hitting the like button. This is Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.